Apex Legends has been through a lot of patches in its 3-year lifespan, and while many of them were just small tweaks and changes that didn't do much to impact the game, there were some that were just absolutely game-breaking, like literally game-breaking, or just flat out so drastic that they either had to temporarily remove a character or a weapon, or made them so strong that you just couldn't play the game without them. We're going back in time to find the 10 worst patches in Apex Legends history. At number 10, we have the War Games event, a well-anticipated event that was going to break the long drought of limited time modes. We featured 5 different limited time modes over the span of about 2 weeks. We have the Second Chance, where the players were given a second life and were granted a second respawn every match. Once a legend was killed, the respawn token is consumed, leaving a green death box behind as a respawn, making them flying from the sky from above where they were killed, while retaining all of the gear that they had on death. Then there's Ultra Zones, and this mode featured the concept of multiple hot zones within a single map, with more loot and more epic items in those blue zones, as well as every hot zone also featuring a flashpoint, which is an enormous glowing bubble that will replenish your HP and shields when you stand in them. Then there's auto banners. Auto banners had a tiny but interesting change to the game, where players who get finished instantly will get their banners returned to their teammates, rather than needing you to pick them up. This mode had a higher drop rate of mobile respawns as well. And then we have killing time. This is the one I actually look forward to the most. When a legend is killed, the round time is reduced, so if the whole lobby ends up fighting each other, the zone closes real quick. And finally, we had armor regen. In this mode, your armor regens slowly at a rate of 12 points per second, and if you take damage, it will start regenerating after an 8-second delay. There also weren't any shield cells in the loot pool. Barring my own opinion, the community was really excited for this one, but when the patch was actually released, things didn't go quite according to plan for Respawn. We started War Games off with Second Chance, but it was quickly swapped out for armor regen on the same day, as it caused a lot of issues with battle pass progressions, its challenges, and earned experience points, meaning you couldn't make progress on the battle pass. Armor regen was followed by Ultra Zones, which wasn't that fun, but at least it didn't have any issues, whereas auto banners and killing time were both scrapped due to server instability and other issues, thus only letting us play 2 out of the 5 modes on rotation for the rest of the War Games event. We never got to try killing time, which probably would have not only been super fun to play as an event, but also the point of War Games was to try drastic changes to the game, and this could have been a cool addition to the game if they decided to take that route. If you also look forward to killing time, make sure to hit the like button. On to number 9 is probably because of how absurdly hard it hit the legend, but mostly because of the explanation game designer DZK gave for the nerf. Pathfinder's grapple cooldown was raised from the static 15 seconds to 35 seconds. Nerfs were in order because obviously 15 seconds was just too short, but 35 seconds? That's just ridiculous. The lead designer was already in hot water because of some other tweets regarding game balance, but things became even more hilarious when this footage from the playtest was released, which shows that he just has no idea how to use the grapple in the first place. He definitely didn't watch my grapple guide, that's for sure. Fortunately, I feel like Pathfinder's grapple is in a good place now since it has more of a dynamic use, but I can't help but miss the good old 15-second cooldown and wonder how it would feel to play the nostalgic Pathfinder from back then one more time. But enough with the reminiscing. Number 8 on this list is a patch I don't know whether to put as one of the best or the worst patches. We're talking about the patch when Respawn decided to add the aim assist override to custom lobbies. For those who aren't in the loop, aim assist override is a setting that changes console players' aim assist from 0.6 to 0.4 to make custom lobbies and tournaments more balanced when it comes to crossplay. But with this patch, Respawn accidentally changed the default aim values and turned the aim assist from 0.6 to 0.4 across the board, which includes normal console Apex lobbies. The community was outraged, and as a mouse and keyboard PC player, the chaos was just hilarious to watch from the sidelines. As for number 7, we have the original disruptor rounds that I've covered in the 10 most broken weapons in Apex history, so I will keep these short. These were not the ones that came back recently, and probably not the version that you remember, which did 77% more damage against shielded enemies. I'm talking about the first 3 days after the disruptor patch dropped. Alternators got a huge buff with this patch and did 126% more damage per shot, taking a purple shield down in just 3 bullets. The meta was utterly turned over its head, and Respawn were quick to fix it 3 days later, but when you mention disruptors, those few days are still lingering on most OG players' minds. Moving on to number 6 is a balancing decision that has happened before and probably will happen again. Imagine a strong weapon such as a wingman at its peak, completely destroying the meta and just being a must pick, with every single team in the lobby running a wingman to the point where you you are guaranteed to lose the game if you are against a wingman using team and you don't have one. The big magazine size and fast firing rate along with the skull piercer just made it that much better than any other weapon. What was Respawn's solution to this? Instead of tweaking any numbers or making it any weaker, they decided to make the wingman just drop less. Well, yes, you artificially lower the amount of wingmans in circulation. Now only a few people actually get to use this overpowered weapon, which means that finding one is even more important than before, and the people who get lucky will win more fights. It's okay. Number 5 was a hard pick between the Seer or the Horizon release. Both of these legends were released way too strong for the game, but with some consideration, I'll have to go with Seer's release. Well, yes, he's currently really strong and annoying to deal with, especially with him coming back into the meta. Seer was impossible to deal with when he was initially released with Season 10. The strongest version of Seer was in the game for about 20 days, with his passive wall hack not only lighting up yellow when you aim towards an enemy within the 120-degree cone from 45 that we have now, within a 75-meter range, but it also lit up blue if you aimed at an enemy beyond 75 meters up to 200 meters away. If you still couldn't somehow find them in your broken field of view, there would also be small little blue arrows pointing towards the enemy to help you find them. His tactical was just as ridiculous. To start off, it only took 1.4 seconds to detonate, and the madness just doesn't stop there. Nowadays, when you get hit by Seer's tactical, it reveals you and shows your health bar for 8 seconds, it silences you for 1.25 seconds, and cancels any heals or revives that you might be doing. But back then, your screen also shook, and you got temporarily blinded. And to make matters worse, it even did 10 damage per use. So while Seer is annoying to deal with, at least it's far from as bad as it was on release. As for number 4, I am going to have to mention the Icecrown event. The new collection event featured 22 skins without the chance of buying any individual one, which meant that if you wanted one specific skin in this whole bundle, you'd have to buy one of these Icecrown packs that are $7 each and just hope to get it. And if you got really unlucky, you'd have to pay up to $154 just to get that one skin that you really wanted. This old event was the pinnacle of EA's greed in Apex. Thankfully, things died down after this, and we've seen mostly reasonable events afterwards. On to number 3 are the rank changes that we saw in Season 13. These changes were intended to make the game a lot more playable, with less overly aggressive teams, and it was catered towards the slower, more methodical, high-ranked and pro players due to how the kill points were calculated, along with every player needing more points to climb between tiers, and featuring ranked demotion, meaning that you couldn't endlessly grief games without any consequences. Respawn asked several pros and ranked streamers for their input to design this new rank system, but failed to account for the matchmaking. And when the new system came out, everything was going smoothly for the first week or so, until the ranked player base started to drop. It started with the teams that couldn't rank up through Platinum and Diamond, followed by the suffering of lower ranks as the matchmaking kept throwing Golds and Platinum players against full Pro and Predator teams just to keep the queue times low. I don't have the numbers, but I'm pretty sure that this struck a huge blow against ranked Apex Legends, and it will be some time before it recovers, even after the matchmaker would be fixed. As for number 2, we have the seemingly widely forgotten patch, which is when Eva Shields first entered the main game. This was initially tested in the Battle Armor limited time event and became the standard, but with a horrible twist. Players spawn in with a level 0 armor, meaning that they had no armor to begin with, but they could level it up to a white armor with 50 damage. This armor wouldn't be charged and would need to be healed up with cells or batteries. Meanwhile, and this is the big one, shield health was also lowered across the board, with purple and gold armor just going down to 75 shields and red armor to 100. This change, along with the devotion making it back to the ground loot, significantly lowered the time to kill and made the game near unplayable. At the time, you had zero chance of fighting back against someone ratting, as it was a lot easier to one-clip. That was the month that the game was dubbed Warzone Legends, and this lasted until the shield health was finally reverted back about a month or so later. And before we go on to number 1, I want to quickly thank you guys for hitting the subscribe button lately. We have gone from 16.7% of the viewers being subscribed to a whopping 17%. It's a small change, but a huge increase in overall subscribers. Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can be part of the journey of the Ottr gang hitting 500,000 subs. Thank you. And on to number 1 is the most game-breaking patch in Apex history. I couldn't find all the times that this happened, but it happened not only once, not twice, but multiple times. Respawn has multiple times managed to accidentally just take the game down, making it completely unplayable for long periods of time, with the absolutely worst one being on the release of Season 8 back in February 2021. This specific patch didn't let users join and instead made them stuck in a login loop. The fix came an entire week later, and even then the game ran with a lot of instability, and many users were forced to Alt F4 or use use the task manager just to restart the game. But the issues doesn't end there. Season 9 had similar problems, and it was also overhyped to the point where the players had a hard time getting into the actual game. And even if they did, they would get kicked from the server overload. This was followed by Season 12, where players were randomly freezing and getting kicked out of the game without any warning messages. This also took a very long time to fix and ruined both pubs and ranked until they finally got around to solving that issue. Looking back, this is definitely not the only times that this happened, but it turns out that searching for the game crashing, freezing, or the service going down after a patch is a lot harder than I thought it would be. But if you remember any of these events that I didn't list, let me know in the comments. Of course, nothing much has changed and the game is still broken even to this day, but I managed to cover a lot of it in this video right here on the screen. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.